This week on The Handle, learn the legend of Turkey's own Bob Wills. Plus, see how an Amarillo radio station is changing the industry. Then enjoy a special performance by Western music icon Michael Martin Murphey. All of this right now on Panhandle PBS as we tell the stories of the Texas Panhandle.
Christmas is great, but Bob Wills is bigger. And it is, it's such a blessing to have Bob Wills because it does help our economy so much.
I'm not sure there'd be a Turkey, Texas if it wasn't for the Bob Wills Day celebration. I don't know if pandemonium's the right word, but it's really pretty crazy. People come in droves, and our little town of 500 people will wind up with upwards of 10,000.
It's the weirdest feeling because it's all of a sudden like there's energy just kind of vibrating through town.
People come to Bob Wills Day from all over the world. We have people from Japan, and I've met people from Bulgaria and from Australia. A lot of people from England come over and Scotland come over. It is amazing to me every year to see how far people are willing to come, not to mention people from all over the United States.
They'll tell you that they've known about Bob Wills for years and that they are so glad to be here.
I heard about it probably in the late 80s, and then I came 17 more times. I live in Queens, New York right now. I lived in Amarillo for 18 years. I like the music. It's just so original. He invented Western swing. He kind of choked up. It's just so good. It's, so much negative stuff and people criticizing each other and hateful. It makes people happy.
He created that music when America needed it. We needed that upbeat, fun, We really don't give Bob Wills credit enough. We talk about how great a musician he was and his songs. But Bob Wills was a therapist, unbeknownst to Bob. His music came at the right time in American history to lift the people up and give them hope that they otherwise wouldn't have had.
Each year, people pour into this community expecting to hear Bob Wills, a week of Bob Wills music, and that's pretty much what they get. I've been involved with the Bob Wills celebration for, I guess 40 of the 48 years that we've been having it, and it's just a lot of fun. And I guess he must have been very charismatic, have a very charismatic personality, because over those 40 years, I run the souvenirs, and people constantly will come in, and the first thing that they want to tell you, it's almost like Elvis, they want to tell you where they saw him and where they danced to his music and for how long, or they want to tell you the last time that they want to tell you their experience with Bob Wills.
We were living out on one of my granddad's ranches in Montague County near Nocona, Texas, near Red River. And we'd listen to all kinds of music, and I never will forget it as if it were yesterday. And we turned that dial one day at about between 12 and 1 and heard this upbeat, wonderful music. Now keep in mind, everybody was poor. And that's one thing the Depression did for us. It made all men equally poor. And so we needed somebody to lift us up. We needed Bob Wills' music.
He danced, he pranced, he hollered, he screamed, he moved around. It was amazing to watch. In the 30s, you look at Frank Sinatra, you look at the Glenn Miller Band, the singers stand up there like this and they sing, and then they sit down and they cross their legs. And
people were drawn to him, and they wanted to watch him, they wanted to look at him, they wanted to hear him play, his stage presence, the way he moved his eyes to the crowd and acknowledged the crowd and the band and demanded the music be right.
Bob Wills created the new music, which is a fiddle band that plays dance music, Western swing. And that's who Bob Wills is. He had a style all of his own. He played it from his heart and his soul.
Well, Bob Wills took the music of jazz, blues, Tejano or Mexican music, mariachi, etc., country music, fiddling music, jazz, everything, and melded it into his own thing, which is all so Texas, Texas, Oklahoma.
When he was a young boy, he moved out here to Turkey, Texas, and his family farmed, had a cotton farm, sharecropped and such, and he picked cotton, when he was a kid with African American and Hispanic field hands, and he says it way better than I can, but he had his dad and his granddad were fiddlers. He had 5 uncles on his mother's side that were fiddlers and 18 aunts that were all fiddlers, a family of fiddlers. So he said if he hadn't played some fiddle, they'd have run him out of town,
It was a close family, but they soon learned that you couldn't make a living on 160 acres or whatever it was between Little Red and Big Red River here in Hall County. You had to supplement it. They had to play dances to survive. Time magazine brought out an article on Bob Wills, as I recall, in 1946. And they said that Bob Wills made more money that year than any other dance band.
When Daddy would leave on tour, it was called he was going to make the beans. We were not part of the business. We were separate from the business. We were the place he could come home and relax. We moved to Fort Worth, and on occasion we would go out to dinner. Mostly we stayed home when Daddy was around because he needed to relax. He didn't. And you find out why, because you would go to a restaurant and you'd have your hot meal served, and invariably somebody would come to the table, introduce themselves to Daddy, and then stand there and talk. And Daddy was always very patient and very nice, and listened to him and talked to him, and by the time you get done, everybody's food was cold. And
he was really kind of the world's first rock star, wore a big diamond ring and smoked a cigar and hollered, and pointed the fiddle bow and all that stuff, and danced, on stage. I mean, he really got down and boogie, and he'd hop and hit a lick. And so, I think that inspired people just to do it their own way and with abandon. Like many musicians, I think he was influenced by different styles of music, and he wanted to incorporate that into his traditional fiddle music. The story goes he rode a mule 50 miles one time to hear Bessie Smith sing, and so that's pretty telling.
He was as big a fan or more of Bessie Smith than I am Bob Wills.
Everything Bob Wills did was original. Bob Dylan's the same thing. He hears music of all different kinds and it goes through his little mind and it comes out Bob Dylan. Well, Bob Wills did the exact same thing.
What a profound impact upon people, and music in general. But people like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Elvis Presley and, all those rockin' guys too, always tip their hats to Bob Wills because they were heavily influenced by him. Before rock and roll had its name, Bob Wills and his guys were doing it.
The improvisation, that he allowed his musicians to, when he would point his bow at, any particular member, they were to play, and they would play their best, and they did. Everybody I talked to that worked with Daddy was, they just wanted to do their best for him. They never played as good as they played when they played with him.
When he pointed that bow, he wanted you to get after it.
What was it like when he pointed that bow at you?
I'd better get after it.
I guess my earliest memories are Turkey, Texas, and coming, and I just thought everybody had the Playboys in their living room, or I traveled with my grandmother a lot. I learned how to dance in Turkey. So I guess I got to be more of a fan, and I got to do the dances and stuff and was brought up around fans, and my memories are everybody else's memories. I grew up on stories, and if I could only remember what I've been told through the years, I just love it. I love everything about his music, the men that play it, the women that play it, and everybody's got a connection to it. that's it's so hard to explain. It's so personal to everybody.
When he and Mother came back to Turkey, when they actually started Bob Wills Day, they had a great time. They met wonderful people that they had, great friendships with.
I came to this area as a newlywed, and the first thing they did was sign me up to help with Bob Wills. That was kind of early in the Bob Wills Day history, but pretty late in Bob Wills' life's history. Of course, in the 70s, he had a stroke.
In September 1973, my dad told me that we were going to get to be a part of a Bob Wills project. Of course, the album was titled Bob Wills and His Texas Playboys for the Last Time. I sang 3 songs, but the main one he wanted me to do was When You Leave Amarillo, Turn Out the Lights. He gave me a chance as a 21-year-old kid to be on a major label, United Artists, with him and these world-renowned Texas Playboys, along with my dad, Merle Haggard, and that just gave me a shot like I would have probably never got. Excuse me, but I mean that's still to this day. I can visualize that. I can relive it. I wrote a little story about it, all the things that I remember about it. And at the end of that song, where I say, when you leave Amarillo, turn out the lights, at the end of it, he says, cut out the lights. That's the last recorded voice of Bob Wills on a record. I'll never forget that. We still get requests for it, and I can relive that in my head and my heart. Like I said, as a 21-year-old kid in that studio with him sitting right in front of me in his wheelchair holding that mic. And every time I sing it, I just kind of make it a point to look where he would be. And I can see him still. Always will.
48 years is a long time to celebrate anything, especially an individual and a legacy of music. But it's definitely had a big impact on our community.
The foundation was created in order to keep his legacy alive and preserve his music. It's gotten to be a week-long event. It takes us about a month to get ready. Then we have about a month of the event, and then it takes about a month to recover. We raise money. The primary purpose is we do some scholarships at the Valley School for high school seniors, and especially the museum. The Bob Wills Museum is a big part of our community. Just anything in this related to this area.
A lot of our businesses look forward to that week all year long because it's the difference. It's a make or break situation.
It's the biggest week for us all year long. One of my favorite parts is having the relationships with all of the people that do come to Bob Wills. You know, they are loyal Bob Wills fans, they're loyal customers, they're just great people.
I've lived in Turkey my whole life and I've experienced Bob Wills Day from a lot of different aspects, but owning the hotel is certainly a different one. It changes from a little quiet, sleepy restaurant where we're all kind of taking our time and getting people's food out to just complete chaos. It is nonstop people from 6:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night.
I think this last year we said, well, you can have anything you want on the menu as long as it's a cheeseburger, because that's all we've got.
I was a cheerleader. We did the concession stand. We had people that would come every single day. They care about our community, even though they're only here for a week.
This is our fundraiser for the year. This is what we use to go to South Padre for cheer camp on, pay for all of our pep rallies, all of our goodies that we do all throughout the year. We made 800 fry pies 2 weeks ago, and then we started briskets after that. We cooked 60 briskets, and we cooked, I think, 400 links of sausage, and then we make homemade pimento cheese, homemade fried pies, sheet cakes. We started Thursday night, and we will work till midnight tonight, or until everybody's gone. So if they get tips, they holler for dollars. And it seems to work.
Believe it or not, this is my first year. We decided, let's rent the house for the whole week and let's do Bob Wills. So loving it, loving every minute of it. I repurpose vintage clothing, so I'm always looking, redoing, all of that good stuff. And so I made my hat kind of Bob Wills. You know, Yellow Rose of Texas or San Antonio Rose. Brings back so many memories, you know, it's so lighthearted, feel good. Just, I love all the people, I love watching them, I love what the music makes people do and move and smile. It's wonderful, it's wonderful.
You know, this is a dance. You play a dance, it's not a show. You know, you better hit one right after the other and keep that floor full. There's times you cut up with the fiddle tunes and, you know, show off a little, but they want that solid dance music all night.
You could go down Main Street anytime during Bob Wills Day and there are people dancing.
You cannot live in Turkey, Texas that week and not hear the music, that's for sure, because it's on every corner. People are playing music. If there's an empty building, there's a band set up in it and there's a group playing. The group from Nakona has the bandstand right there on Main Street, and that's the most wonderful thing and amazing. They play music night and day, and you can pull up and get out your lawn chairs and dance till you can't dance anymore.
I have 2 daughters. They learned how to dance in the same gym I learned how to dance in, and my dance partners that I've acquired through the years now come over to me and grab my daughter and take them off, so I have to share now.
I call Turkey, Texas the Super Bowl of Western swing. That's it. This is one where you get your blood pumping.
I'm recruiting people all the time, and I just think everybody needs to dance in the gym here in Turkey, Texas. And the stories and the people are how I got to know my grandfather through the years. So that just means a lot. And I bought a house here in Turkey, Texas. So not that I needed roots, because I kind of feel like I already had them, but it's important to me because I want it to continue. I want my kids to be here. I think it's valuable for everybody. I mean, it's a little piece of America, and from the parades to the barbecue to the lawnmower races.
One of the amazing things about Bob Wills Day, people have been here all through the week, and on Sunday morning, by the time we go to church, this town is cleared out, and they're very neat. They take most of whatever they brought in, they usually take with them, and we do have a crew that cleans up, but they're done by Sunday afternoon.
Obviously, Bob Wills, it don't matter who's in Austin, Bob Wills is still the king of Western swing. You know, for as long as people have been here, it's almost like Bob Wills and Western swing has been here. And I know that's not the case, but it seems like that. It has just been so ingrained in the culture of Texas.
As long as there's a dance hall, a club, a rodeo dance, or whatever, there'll be Bob Wills music.
That is the latest from Prophets and Outlaws. It's called Dreamer. Just kind of zooming up the chart. It's got that Texas soul feel to it that I didn't know if I was going to be safe to play or not. Actually, to be honest with you, I was like, whoa, that's soul. But it is so good. I am Craig Vaughn, the program director for 95.7 KPUR in Amarillo, an all Texas Red Dirt station. We're downtown at 3rd and Polk, actually, right now in the Amarillo building. As far as a Texas Red Dirt sound, it's a lot more real. It's a lot stripped down. You won't hear clap tracks or, rapping or a bass. It's a little more authentic. Used to be you had to be from Texas and you only played in Texas and it was independent and you had to write everything that you played. There's less of a pop sound. Nashville, a top 40 country, relies a lot on what we call hooks. The chorus part that really pulls you in, and that is the most important. A lot of the songs even get written around the chorus.
Used to, Craig could only play regular Nashville during the day, and then at night he would have Texas nights. They finally got to where they took the Saturday nights away too, and so Craig could only play Nashville just like the other, 20-something radio stations in the Panhandle.
We were playing it, and there was a demand for it. It was the only thing being booked in Amarillo. It was Texas Red Dirt music. There was an occasional rock concert. There was hardly a Nashville show, a top 40 show in the Civic Center. We really don't have a Civic Center big enough for it. And so at the time, we were playing maybe one song an hour. I was getting in a lot of trouble for playing those one songs an hour. And then we were playing it on the weekends, and I got in a lot of trouble for that stuff. And we had a GM leave here and another GM come in and a vice president of the company on his way out. I can tell you a year later that corporate was like, oh, when did you guys do that? Yeah, but it's been working with ratings and income and everything else. So they've kind of went, okay, good, it's working there. We're happy. Thank you.
Just the lyrics are really phenomenal. There's things like Red Shahan has a song about a single mother, with little kids struggling in Midland, Texas, and talking about how she's got to figure out whether she can feed the kids or pay the rent. And so she goes back to stripping. And so it's just those real life struggles that nobody wants to sing about, nobody wants to talk about.
We had a 5,000 watt signal on 107.1 KPUR FM. And that was the safe one. You take your smallest signal and you see if it's going to work on the smallest signal, and it just took off. I mean, it really just took off to where we got to a point where like, okay, we can really grow this if you give us more wattage. So they gave us 100,000 watts, and now we're the strongest all Texas radio station in the state, or I guess in the country, really. And it's really just successful. It really does well, and it just gives people another choice really on the radio dial.
It's great to hear local bands on the radio, and a lot of them, I know where I'll meet at concerts, and just you hear these great artists from other places, and for some reason we tend to think, well, yeah, they're from somewhere else, so they're great, and people don't pay attention to local people, but we have really great artists here.
Texas 95.7, the Amarillo's theme song there. There's Chancey Burnson with Amarillo. Still love to hear that song. It's got to be 10 years old now, but it still sounds just as good today as it did then.
Glad that we had a product that we could put out there that could be heard on radio. And so it was a good feeling. Yeah, there's a market for this music and people want to hear it, and it's noticed. I think it was noticed by the company he works for that, okay, let's let Craig do this.
Now you have things like, the Canadian River Music Festival. The bands that they're bringing in, they're all the bands that people in this area now know and love because Craig Vaughn started playing them on the radio station.
So if you have a song on Craig's station, it's huge.
I think Cody and Aaron Watson and Granger Smith and those guys are getting bigger with a national scene because their music is more country. Country kind of got away from country. And so here you got these guys coming back and they're singing and they sound like country again.
So I put out a record, my first record that really did good in country music, with a guy who was a fellow Texan named Jim Ed Norman from Linden, Texas. We both agreed it was time to talk about our parents, talk about how we were raised, and get back to the original things that country music talked about. I've been looking at people, how they change with the times. Lately all I've been seeing are people throwing love away, losing their mind. Maybe it's me who's gone crazy. I can't understand why all these lovers keep hurting each other. Good love is so hard to come by. What's the glory in living? Doesn't anybody ever stay together anymore? And if love never lasts forever, what's forever for? I see love-hungry people trying their best to survive. Right there in their hands is a dying romance
and trying to keep it alive. So what's the glory in living? Doesn't anybody ever stay together anymore? And if love never lasts forever, what's forever for? What's the glory